Nowadays, we're accustomed to studios acquiring properties and products to turn into feature films that seem like oddball choices. However, in the 1980s, this wasn't quite as common, and there were head scratches when Paramount Pictures bought the rights to make a film based on the classic Parker Brothers board game, Clue. However, looking at the board game itself, there actually is a plot to speak of, as it involves the classic murder mystery concept of a bunch of people in a mansion trying to find a murderer. That was John Landis' thought process when he saw the screen potential of Clue, and eventually hired Jonathan Lynn, the co-creator of the acclaimed British television series Yes Minister, to write a screenplay. When Lynn was surprisingly given the director's chair on top of that, he decided the best approach was to make it in the style of a classic screwball comedy, complete with period setting and a talented team of character actors portraying the color-coded house guests caught up in the mystery. Lynn injected quite a lot of historical context into the story to give the characters extra motive for the murder. Setting it in 1954 and having all of them work for the government was an excellent move, tying the paranoia of the characters with that shared by many during the McCarthy witch hunt of the era. This allows us to be introduced to each character without having to sit through dull exposition, as bit by bit is revealed about them relating to their work and stature. The mansion is one cleverly designed by production designer John Robert Lloyd, and Lynn uses every single room to his advantage by having everyone run from one section to the next. Each actor is also given something to do. 3 of them were already established Academy Award nominated actors at the time, while others were primarily television actors, and that mix of different types of thespians work to their advantage as they play off each other tremendously well, and each character feels distinct in their personalities and styles. Of the suspects, I think Madeline Kahn is the standout. Not only does she seem the most suspicious from the start, but there are a couple times when she seems to almost ad-lib from Lynn's tightly written script. Michael McKean also plays the neurotic Mr. Green wonderfully, as he gets some of the more physical comedy bits, and the way he keeps trying to deflect blame from himself is hilarious. Martin Mull is also great as Colonel Mustard, who continually tries to keep his cool, and Christopher Lloyd also succeeds at almost playing against type as a perverted doctor. The way the script keeps mounting suspicion on each of them works, and it's clear, despite the famed multiple endings, Lynn really did think it through and made sure everybody was written as a suspect, including the employees at the mansion. Colleen Camp puts on a French accent as the maid, and the screenplay gets some funny moments out of her character, including the men always wanting to be near her for obvious reasons. However, the secret weapon of Clue ends up being not the revolver, nor the candlestick, nor the rope, but rather Tim Curry as the butler. Breathlessly running and talking at a quick pace, Curry actually ended up with high blood pressure while filming Clue, because of the constant movement required for his character. So he is legitimately out of breath when he's trying to explain the motives and current situation to the guests. It's the kind of delightful performance we come to expect from Tim Curry. He's the sort of actor who has nailed the art of chewing the scenery and ups the fun level of Clue. The most infamous and highly publicized aspect of Clue were the multiple endings, as Paramount chose to give 1/3 of the screens showing the film a different ending. Critics at the time decreed it as a publicity stunt, which was partly why it did not get the rosiest of receptions on its original release. However, the notion of multiple endings was something Landis considered during pre-production, as he wanted to mimic the feeling of playing the board game and how players would get a different result each time. And I think Jonathan Lynn handled the aspect cleverly, though he later blamed the 3 endings for why Clue did not do well at the box office. Me personally, I think it's a novel concept and perfectly suited for Clue, but it's definitely the sort of scenario that could only work for this film with this source material. But it also makes sense why the later VHS release put all 3 endings together, but the DVD and Blu-ray editions do give you the option of having the disc choose one at random. As for my personal favorite ending, I have to say the first one. Who they reveal as the culprit makes sense when piecing it all together. While I understand why the critics did not care for Clue in its initial release, it's not hard to see why it has developed a cult following since then. There's an immediate old-school charm to the entire proceedings, with the frequent one-liners providing the necessary laughs and enjoyment. It's certainly a comedy that gets better on repeat viewings, and I look forward to seeing it again in the future. But for now, this film is going back on the DVD shelf. As for my personal favorite ending, I have a certain preference for the second one. In this current age of new adaptations and reboots being developed, it's no surprise a new film based on Clue has been considered, with Universal owning the rights due to a development deal with Hasbro, and Gore Verbinski was attached to direct it. It's easy to see why Hollywood is considering taking on the property again, although I don't think they would reuse the multiple endings concept. But should they? After all, Lynn's film did it so well, and it'll be easy to compare the new actors with the excellent performances in the 1985 adaptation. Even John Landis himself has admitted how hard Clue was to adapt because of the ending. Well, we'll see what Hollywood comes up with. Either way, we will have this charming, dark comedy to watch and enjoy again and again. Ciao for now! As for my personal favorite ending, I definitely have to pick the third one, which is the most zany of the bunch. There was a rumor that 20th Century Fox had bought the rights to a Clue movie, but a shady website called The Tracking Board announced it, and the Hollywood Reporter, an actual legit source, didn't say a word, so it's probably not true. However, I think Clue lends itself extremely well to a new film, and I've read it's Universal who actually owns the rights. I would definitely be up for a new take were it to happen. I even like the idea of Gore Verbinski directing it. It would certainly be a worthy companion piece to the hilarious 1985 film, which still holds up remarkably well. See you next time.